Another year of ADCC has come and gone, and this year was different as many of the best grapplers in the world weren't on the ADCC mats. Instead, they were just a short 10-minute drive down the road at the first ever Craig Jones Invitational. So in case you didn't have the time to watch CJI plus all 128 matches and 2 super fights at ADCC, I did, so I'm here to give you a summary of the best stories from ADCC 2024. Okay, I'm lying, I didn't watch them all either, but nobody f***ing did.
150 cents?
Nothing.
The average age of the champions at ADCC 2024 was 26 years old. So if somehow you haven't noticed, this is a young man's game. Like for 18-year-old Achilles and 22-year-old Jasmine Hosha, the brother and sister duo who are known as staples of this tournament already at their young ages. But shockingly, neither of these two made it nearly as far in the tournament as their 42-year-old silver medal winning father, Wagner Hosha. Wagner is a veteran with more experience than anybody. He's an ex-UFC fighter, IBJJF Worlds medalist, an EBI champion, and a multiple-time medalist at ADCC. But in his comparably geriatric state these days, it's hard to have any sort of excitement when he's on the mat knowing his stubborn, slow, heavy-handed game that we've seen for years. And the same goes for 41-year-old Rafael Lovato Jr. and 43-year-old Roberto Cyborg Abreu. I just don't have the same tingly feeling in my stomach seeing these grandpas on the mat when I do for a 19-year-old Andrew Tackett who's gonna do this for 15 minutes straight.
As a juvenile division.
Yeah, there were no kids competing in the IBJJF.
But all that being said, something special happened this year at the ADCC World Championship where wrinkly old Man Jiujitsu was actually pretty good. Wagner's tournament went as expected in terms of his style. He was ready and eager to wrestle, and his vast experience with the ADCC rule set is a major advantage, and almost nobody plays the game better. He does just enough to get his points and always avoids letting his opponents take his back or flatten him out. So he shut out everyone with not a point scored against until the final of the under 77 kilogram division. What was surprising about his game is that even for an older competitor, Wagner's cardio was on another level. He took every opponent the distance and never stopped pushing the pace, and even in the finals of the under 77 against 20-year-old Mika Galvao, he not only survived for 19 minutes, but relentlessly clubbed Mika's head, got back to his feet to defend multiple close takedowns, and even passed for a 2-point score of his own. That very same day, Wagner had enough in the tank to step into the absolute division and had another 40-minute war of attrition against Fabricio Andre, where he narrowly took the decision and was eliminated in the second round by Giancarlo Bodoni, the under 88 kilogram champion. Rafael Lovato Jr. is another legend of the sport with multiple IBJJF World Championships, but after his ADCC performance in 2021, it seemed highly unlikely that he would return and his career would end there without ever securing an elusive ADCC medal. But to the under 99 kilograms shock, Lovato showed up in incredible form, taking out 3 opponents with points, a submission, and an overtime win, leading him to the finals against the 15-year younger defending champion, Kaynan Duarte. And although Kaynan was too much for Lovato in the end, the American was finally able to achieve a silver medal at ADCC in what he has called the last dance of his career. But Roberto Cyborg Abreu might have been the most impressive of them all at 43 years old. He won 5 out of 7 matches, securing a bronze in the under 99 kilogram division and a silver in the absolute division, with only a single one of his matches needing overtime. Where most older athletes rely on their slow pacing and experience to grind out narrow overtime wins, Cyborg was almost able to score early during the first 10-minute regulation period in each of his matches for a very impressive overall performance across both days of ADCC 2024, cementing himself as one of the most decorated players in the history of ADCC with 7 total medals.
Did we just see what we think we just saw? Wow!
If ADCC 2024 is remembered for anything, it will be known as the Tournament of Upsets. Let me sum some of these up for you. Elijah Dorsey has been making a name for himself as a giant slayer by taking out #1 seed Nicky Ryan at ADCC Trials and following it up at the championships by taking out highly ranked ADCC veteran Dante Leon, who had him in a deep guillotine just 1 minute into the match. It honestly looked like it could be over quick, and Dante is known for being one of the best finishers in the world pound for pound. But Dorsey never panicked and slipped his way out, taking control of the match despite Dante's incredible guard and many deep attacks throughout the match. If there's any knock on Dante's game, it would be his wrestling, and Elijah took full advantage of this, forcing Dante to pull guard repeatedly and eventually doing enough to take him down and pin him, riding out the match and devastating the previous ADCC medalist. But Elijah's day wasn't done there. He went on to match up with another top seed and two-time ADCC gold medalist JT Torres, who might just be one of the all-time best ADCC style wrestlers. He knows better than almost anybody how not to get scored on, and how to score in this rule set. But Dorsey just wasn't phased and took it to JT on the feet. He was able to secure a huge takedown from the dogfight underhook position, just like he did against Dante, scoring him 2 points. And JT, being as savvy as he was, knew he would probably need a sub to win and went for a deep guillotine. But as we saw earlier, Dorsey wasn't going down easy and managed to survive, scoring another 2 points, advancing him to the semifinals. He would end up going on to lose against Wagner and PJ Barch to narrowly miss the podium, but will forever be remembered for shocking the world twice on Saturday. And even though Dante Leon was massively upset in the first match of his division, he chose to go on and do the absolute division and did some upsetting of his own, starting off with a grueling 40-minute ref's decision, but he then matched up with his rival and the under 77 kg champion Mika Galvao, who holds 2 previous wins over Dante. He pulled guard pretty early on, and as Mika started to outside pass, Dante tied the legs up, jumping on a straight ankle lock. He had a bite on the side of the foot that didn't look great, but somehow he managed to hip in for a really quick tap, winning the match in just 2 minutes. And although he matched up with Kynan, the eventual winner in the semis, Dante earned his spot in the bronze medal match against the under 88 kg champion Giancarlo Bodoni. In the regulation period, Dante managed to hold off Bodoni's pass attempts and got deep on some leg attacks, despite having a massive size disadvantage. And neither athlete could score, so it was 0-0 going into OT. Dante ended up on the back again, but pushed the pace, inverting into Bodoni's legs on both sides and constantly off-balanced him, making Bodoni reset as he really struggled to do anything substantial. And just like that, Dante had negated the under 88 kg champion right after submitting the under 77 kg champ for 2 of the biggest upsets in ADCC history. But I really saved the best for last with Nicholas Marigali versus Michael Pixley. To set things up, Nicholas Marigali is the closest thing to a real-life supervillain in ADCC. The guy came up as the meanest man to ever put on a gi, beating guys bigger than him and proceeding to scream, "I'm the fucking man," or "I'm the king of this shit," right in their faces. Not to mention flipping off crowds with the most arrogant, I don't give a fuck demeanor you could imagine. Plus some oddly suspect timing and meeting his 19-year-old girlfriend as a 30-year-old to add to the hate.
It was June 1st, so it was a completely legal move.
But that doesn't even account for the utter dominance in every way these last few years since starting to compete in no-gi. He showed up a literal lock to win his division and a huge favorite to take the absolute division this year, and the bleach blonde hair really brought an evil Draco Malfoy vibe to this tournament. In almost a completely opposite way, Michael Pixley is a hard-nosed underdog who barely earned his shot by scraping through the ADCC West Coast trials by the skin of his teeth. Pixley has a very exciting style with his background as a Division 1 wrestler, but as only a purple belt, nobody thought he could take down the Goliath that was Vinicius Trattor Ferreira, let alone Nicholas Marigali. Trattor fell into the trap of wrestling with Pixley, which he has proved tends to result in a heavy snapdown and a wrap on the neck, which is exactly what happened here. And one upset wasn't enough for Pixley. He took it to Marigali, showing him no respect and attacking that neck early and often. And eventually, after not being able to attack with his guard, Marigali also made the mistake of wrestling with Pixley, who baited him into an underhook and throwing a violent Uchimata right into his signature Dars for a quick tap, leaving the #1 seed of the whole tournament rolling on the ground in agony. And this of course spurred a lot of joking online and love from the many Marigali haters out there. But the New Wave team claimed that the match was over as soon as it hit the mat due to a freak accident when he posted, shattering his arm or shoulder. But either way, a win's a win, and Michael Pixley will forever be remembered in the ADCC history books for this unbelievable upset.
A new era finally begins.
We may have seen CJI take over as the premier grappling event in the world on the weekend of August 16th. It was hard to tell, but attendance seemed to be at times higher at ADCC. However, the viewership was groundbreaking for CJI across all media platforms. And this could be because CJI was free to watch online, but overall the brackets were just more exciting in CJI than they were at ADCC, and it was way more digestible as a much shorter event with only 2 divisions. ADCC just went on so long with all of the overtimes and with the addition of the newly added ladies under 55 kilogram division. On top of this year the super fights were really weak for ADCC because they didn't feel as high stakes with Felipe Pena competing in his own division and just how long they took. Gordon Ryan's performances were really not great, and both matches ended up being pretty boring decisions. The super fights at CJI were just way more entertaining, even though they were a lot less competitive, which might not totally be a great thing for advancing the sport with rankings and professionalism, but it definitely made for the most fan-friendly jiu-jitsu event in history. Many athletes have voiced that whichever event has the biggest prize money will attract the best names, and it pretty much did for this particular weekend. It really makes you feel better knowing that each athlete was taken care of fairly and evenly at CJI, as opposed to some of the shady rumors going on with select competitors getting paid under the table at ADCC. All of that, plus the incredible upsets, submissions, and new strategies with the pit were just great at CJI, and they announced that they would follow it up with another show in 2025. But can they really repeat that success at this scale? Surely Craig Jones would not have announced a follow-up event if they weren't able to secure the same level of funding with at least a $1 million prize for the 2 divisions. This will ensure that the biggest names will be showing up to compete, and the base level fans that watch most events will be tuning in. But to get the casual combat sports fan to watch again, there has to be a novelty factor like there was for the inaugural event. Plus the headlining Craig Jones versus Gabby Garcia fight had so much build up and ended up as a car crash that nobody could look away from. And of course, if they're able to follow it up with another event that's this expensive, will they be able to financially keep this model up sustainably? Probably not without making a profit. And if they do, what does this mean for ADCC, who will now be competing with the new biggest show in town? Will the athletes still try to compete at the grueling ADCC trial events, or will they just try to get on Craig's good side? All of this is still very up in the air, but there's no doubt that the sport has never been bigger, and I just can't wait to see what happens next.